In the attic, hidden beneath a dusty trunk, they found it, the black magic quilt. Its dark fabric seemed to pulse with an ominous energy. Despite Thomas's unease, Isabella decided to take it home, believing she could unravel its secrets. In the small secluded town of Ravenscroft, there existed a dark legend passed down through the ages. The tale of the black magic quilt. This quilt, shrouded in mystery and fear, was said to bring misfortune and sorrow to anyone who dared to possess it. Our story begins with a young woman named Isabella, who recently moved to Ravenscroft with her husband. Thomas and Isabella was skilled quilters. Isabella and Thomas made themselves familiar with the villagers and made new friends. One night, as they were at their neighbor's home having a barbecue and sharing stories, they were told about the old abandoned mansion at the edge of the town. Isabel was intrigued by the story, and as she listened to the whispers of the black magic quilt that supposedly lay hidden within the mansions, she wanted to know more. Isabella, with her raven black hair and piercing blue eyes, was determined to find the quilt, dismissing the town's warning as mere superstition. One stormy night, though, she and Thomas ventured into the mansion, their lanterns casting an eerie shadows on the crumbling of the walls. In the attic, hidden beneath a dusty trunk, they found it, the black magic quilt. Its dark fabric seemed to pulse with an ominous energy. Despite Thomas's unease, Isabella decided to take it home, believing she could unravel its secrets. From the moment the quilt entered their home, strange things began to happen. The air grew colder, and the house creaked and groaned as though protesting the quilt's presence. Thomas, a tall man with strong build and kind eyes, started having many nightmares. His sleep filled with visions of despair and darkness. Isabella, who was undeterred and not too concerned about Thomas's nightmares, dismissing them as mere coincidence, began to examine the quilt more closely. She discovered intricate symbols stitched into the fabric, symbols she recognized from ancient books of dark magic. One evening, as she worked late into the night, the quilt seemed to come alive, the symbols glowing faintly. A cold, ghastly whisper filled the room. "Release us!" Isabella began to scream as she heard the voice. She quickly ran to Thomas, who was asleep in the bedroom. Terrified but resolute, she recalled what occurred to Thomas as he tried to settle her from the experience. The next day, Isabella sought help from the town's elder, Agatha, a wise woman with silver hair and knowledge of the old ways. Agatha quickly revealed the quilt's dark history. It was crafted by a sorceress named Ilara, who had cursed the town centuries ago. The quilt held the souls of those who had wronged her, trapping them in eternal torment. Isabella, now realizing the gravity of her situation, the quilt's power was growing, feeding off the fear and unrest it caused in their home. Agatha warned that if the curse was not lifted, It would consume not only Isabella and Thomas, but the entire town. As the days passed, the atmosphere in their home grew more oppressive. They started to experience shadows moving in the corners of their home, and an icy chill settled over everything. Thomas began to grow weaker, and his behavior became cold and aggressive. He would have repeated nightmares and quickly began losing his strength. Desperation set in, and Isabella knew she had to act fast. With Agatha's guidance, Isabella prepared for a ritual to break the curse. Agatha knew that the night of the full moon was fast approaching, and so they made a plan and congregated in the mansion's attic, the air thick with fear and tension. As Isabella began the incantation, the quilt contorted and twisted, its dark energy lashing out. The spirits trapped within wailed in anguish, their voices merging in a cacophony of pain. In a climactic moment, a dark figure emerged from the quilt. Ilara herself, her eyes burning with rage. Isabella stood her ground, repeating the incantation with all her might. Ilara screamed, "You dare defy me?" Her form dissolving into the shadows. With a final burst of light, the quilt fell silent. But the battle was not yet over. The curse had been weakened but not destroyed. As the first rays of dawn broke through the attic windows, Isabella knew their fight was far from finished. The quilt's power still lingered, and its dark legacy would continue to haunt them unless they could find a way to banish it forever. Thomas, however, continued to grow weaker, Isabella now desperate to ensure that her husband is well again. When they arrived at home, Thomas was very angry and refused to speak to Isabella. He felt he would not have been in this situation had she listened to the words of the villagers. In his weak voice, he said, "I don't want you next to me. How could you? How could you, Isabella? Look at the state of me. I feel like an old man, my age dissipating as the hours goes by." Isabella, now crying, said, "I will fix this. I promise, I will. Our love will see it through." Thomas, now very hurt and disappointed, turned his back to her. As Isabella now contemplated her husband's words, she promised to herself she will put this wrong right.